Hi, I'm Stefan Grossman, and this should be a fun lesson. What I'd like to do is to play some blues in A. Let's sort of explore the key of A and how to play blues in different styles from different regions of the United States. We're going to go to Mississippi. We're going to go to New Orleans. We're going to go to the Carolinas. We're going to go to Texas. We're going to have a long trip, so make sure you have your GPS on. First thing we're going to have to do is get ourselves in tune. Now I'm tuned to standard, and here's my high E string. And you notice I'm going to be using finger picks for this lesson. My B, there's my G, here's my fourth string, my D, my fifth string, and my sixth string, low E. Okay, now let's also talk about some of the chord positions that we're going to need for this lesson. First thing would be, how are we going to play an A chord? Well, this is what I call a long A chord. An A7th, I would play it this way. Now, some people play it with their middle finger on the 3rd fret. I suggest you use your ring finger. Why? Because you may want to use that middle finger to get some funk in the bass. We also have an A here, an F fingering, and we have an A7th here, or an A position here. So that's a D fingering, but up on the 9th fret. And that looks like a D7th fingering, but up on the 9th fret. We also have this type of A. We can take off our index finger, and we have an A7th. Now let's look at the 4th chord that we're going to be playing, the D7th, where we have this, or we can make it a full D7th, or we can also have a D7th like this. And with that high E, that's really pretty. So that's this D fingering. You just put out your pinky onto the 4th fret of the 4th string. We also have this D7th. Then we have this really strange D7th that Son House showed me, where you're going to put your ring finger on the 5th fret of the 1st string. You're going to have your middle finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and your thumb on the 5th fret of the 6th string. Now you could say, why do you need your thumb there? Because it's the same as the open 5th. Well, you're going to want to get both of those strings, the 6th and the 5th. You also can have this D7th, which is like a C7th a la Reverend Gary Davis. And if you don't know this, just play a C chord, put your pinky down on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, ring finger 3rd fret of the 3rd string, bring it up, and if you were just going to play the top 5 strings without playing the low 6th string, that's what you'd have. If you wanted to play the 6th string, you need to fret it on the 5th fret. Then we have the E, E7th. Well, this is going to be an E. This would be an E7th. This is an E7th, which is the same position as that D7th, but just move it up. This, a B7th, but if you move up a 1st position B7th up to the 7th fret, you have another E7th up here. Now obviously there are other fingerings for all 3 of these chords, but we'll see how they come into the different licks and the different arrangements that we're going to try to tackle. Okay, the first place I want to go to is the Mississippi Delta, and let's play a blues in A la Son House. Well, playing the blues on the guitar ain't for sissies. Now, what's really important, and I say this at so many workshops, is the guitar playing you, or are you playing the guitar? Okay, what that really means is that you have to put some, well, if we were just a bunch of guys, I would say you have to play with balls. But in doing workshops around the world, there are, of course, some great women guitar players. And one gal came up to me and said, perhaps you can use a different expression. And she said, perhaps you could say you have to play with commitment. And I think that's a good idea. Either way, what it means is that you have a guitar which is made out of wood. You have strings on it. Usually they're light gauge strings from 12s to 54. But to make the guitar sing, you got to put some oompah into it, some strength. Because if you're just playing, it has no meaning at all. That has some meaning. Now the trick is, how do we do it? How are we going to play something like that with some strength and with some texture? Well, there are different ways. Let's look at my right hand. I'm playing this A7th up the neck, and I could be playing this just with my index finger literally brushing up. Or I could take all three fingers, and you hear the difference in sound. This is what I would say is dirty, and this is clean. Now you can add the bass. So in that case, I'm playing the bass with my thumb, and I'm dampening that bass, so it's just a thud. And you also want to try, when possible, when you're at the end of a lyrical phrase, that last strum, you want to put some vibrato. Now look at that left hand. It may look simple. This took me about, I'd say, 365 days to try to really feel in control of. To be able to just sit on those strings and make them ring out and sing. So the first phrase we're going to have with this type of blues is Delta blues. I'm going to keep my bass going, and every once in a while stumble it, meaning instead of going, alternating it, I'm going to go ba-dum. So it gets to be a little bit orchestrated. So we're going to go backwards and forwards from this A7, bring it back one fret, so that we'll have this. Then we do that again. And then to reach the climax of that line, we go up to what looks like a D position, but actually this is, you're playing a C chord, so it's the third of the A, and you're going to wham it up. So it's not just playing a vibrato, but literally, and you can put your pinky on the 14th fret. So when we put that together to complete the first line, every once in a while a real thud, and also things like that to come up, just come up on those strings to give a, it's not even a strum, it's almost like a flamenco player. All right, keep going. Now go all the way up. And now we're ready to go to the D chord. And I like that Sun House chord that I showed you at the beginning in the introduction. You can either go up with your thumb. I have a habit of going up with my middle finger. And if I would strum this chord, very strange sounding, very evocative. And on the picking hand, you're going to want to favor that third string, so you're going up, whamming that ring finger up, and hitting that against the 5th fret of the 1st string. and then back up the fingerboard. And now we go to the E chord. And now here's another trick that Son showed me. Instead of playing an E chord or an E7, which sound a little bit prosaic, they're not really exciting. What he did was took a C chord. How's that for coloration? Isn't that fantastic? And what's interesting is that Lightnin Hopkins used that when he was playing in the key of E. He would begin a song in E, and he'd be in E. And it's, again, for E is great, and for the key of A when you're going to your turnaround. And then for the D7th, you can either go to this. But in playing this, let's get a rhythmic feel to it. So it's not just an alternating bass. Take a look at my right hand. And then we're finished with an A chord. So let's do it from that E, and we're going to slide up to it. So we want to have that slide be as precise as possible. We're going to go from the 2nd to the 7th fret, and we want to hear where it begins and where it ends. Let's try that again. So there, at the turnaround, we just went from the A7, chromatically down, and into this A fingering. So that's sort of like the F fingering, but we're only using the top 3 strings. And what's interesting about a lot of the blues from the Delta is they don't go then to the 7th chord. They wouldn't go to the E7th. They just stay on the 1st chord. So let's try playing this slowly and with some of the ideas that we've gone over. Up to that D. Up the staff. Now slide up with that C chord. Now the next time you go around, you can start off like this. Now we could go, okay, what is this? If this is our D chord, this is a 2nd position of our D chord. It really is, if we're using our index finger as a capo, we would be barring all the strings at the 5th fret, and then our ring finger and pinky would be playing this chord, which is just like this A7, but we're playing it up here to make it a D7. But we just want the top 2 strings, and I'm playing them with my middle and index finger because I want this ring finger to be whamming on that 8th fret of the 1st string. And again, I'm playing it with a little bit of oompah to get that to cry. It's a voice. Okay, so let's go from when we went all the way up to the 12th fret, now into that D. Now we can go into our nice C up the fingerboard. Now let's try another variation. This is one that Robert Johnson did. He would use this A7th position. Now what is that? Play a D chord, hop it up to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, bring it up to the 5th fret, and you have an A7th. Basically, it's around the F fingering. This would be an A7th if you were going to play it full. Well, we're just going to play the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. We're going to fret those with that open 1st string. We're going to bring it back down, and then we can add our pinky to make it a diminished on the 5th fret, and then bring it back up. So we can have and we can go up to, I like that idea of having this being so full, where the guitar is really completely chordal and completely a full sound. And you can do this rhythmically. And now go to that D up, cry, now we go to a regular E7th, to the D7th, and we're going to have a Robert Johnson ending. And what is this? There's many variations to this, but this one is going to have index and pinky, index on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, pinky on the 5th fret, ring finger onto the 4th fret of the 4th string, middle finger onto the 3rd fret of the 4th string, always keeping that index finger rooted. But at this point, our ring finger is going to hammer on and then pull off the 4th fret of the 3rd string. And we'll end up in a long A. Okay, that's quite a lot of meat there. And let's split the screen. I'll try to play this as slowly as possible. And what's been transcribed in your tab music PDF is what I'm going to play on the split screen. So you have all these ideas, and I'm going to try to put them all together into this Delta Blues in A. Here we go.